Welcome back to Bad Boys and Beyond. I am your host, Mike Payton. With me, as always, is Keith Black Trudeau. Things are a little bit different in this episode. We're doing something different. We're trying something new here. We are doing a watch along, and we're doing a watch along of the 1988 Detroit Pistons Bad Boys year-end review, video yearbook, whatever you'd like to call it. And I could not be more excited about doing this. Keith, do you have any memories of this video? Because I certainly do. But do you have any childhood memories of this video?
A million of them, because I must have rented this video a million times
Yeah.
from Blockbuster uh, before my mother finally caved in and bought it for me uh, a few years later. As the season was going on, I was watching Pistons games, but I was too young to really understand or remember what was going on. So a few years later, as I was really getting myself involved with learning the sport and learning the history, this tape was just such an awesome reference guide for me. And yeah, you mentioned it being a yearbook. It's interesting because the NFL for decades, longer than most of us have been alive, has made a lot of money off of doing team focused yearbook video reviews that they used to release on VHS. And around the late 80s, the NBA looked at that and decided, why don't we dip our toes in the water? So they did, and for this season, 87, 88, they did multiple team-focused yearbooks. Not the entire league, mind you, but I know there was one from Atlanta. There was one for Dallas. There was certainly one for the Lakers. There was one for the Bulls, and there was one for the Pistons. There may be one or two that I'm missing, but I know those for a fact exist. I've seen them all. And I guess they didn't do terribly well because they didn't try it again the next year. But this one's in particular, the Bad Boys, the NBA sold a ton of these. They made a killing off of it. And here's the ultimate irony that I love to point out every time we watch documentaries that feature the Bad Boys as this villain antagonist that the NBA didn't want to associate themselves with. Who do you think came up with the name Bad Boys? It was the NBA. NBA Entertainment produced this video. The Detroit Pistons did not produce it. The NBA essentially coined the phrase Bad Boys, and the Pistons just leaned into it.
Yeah.
As you'll see in this tape, they are not referred to as Bad Boys once in this video. It was, the Raiders, or they're trying to find an identity that associated themselves with toughness, but the term Bad Boys didn't come about until that following summer when this tape came out. And then from that point on, they were known as the Bad Boys. And the NBA profited a great deal from that until it became profitable to disassociate themselves from that. I just want everyone to notice the hypocrisy that the NBA produced and made a lot of money selling this video that they called Bad Boys.
Well, for me, the story is a little bit different. I was given this tape by my Uncle Jim. The reason why is because my Uncle Jim is in this video. You will see him. I will point him out, and it is a pretty iconic Pistons fan moment that you'll totally recognize. It was in the 30 for 30. It's in constant Pistons. Anytime they bring up the Bad Boys, usually this moment is shown. It happened during the Celtics series. Keith, maybe you are starting to realize what I'm talking about. I don't know, maybe not. I'll point it out later on. But he gave me this, and I was such a basketball just nerd at the time. I still am, obviously. That's why we do this show. But I watched this thing over and over and over again until the tape literally would not play anymore. So this thing is it holds a dear spot in my basketball heart, and I'm very excited that we're going to be watching this today. So without further ado, we're not going to waste any time. This is our first video podcast. I know if you're a Spotify member, you're watching us right now on your phone. I don't know if that works that way on Apple or not. It should come across as a regular podcast, and you can join along. We'll do like a 3, 2, 1 play thing. We have a YouTube page now. It's Bad Boys Beyond. Please go over to it, subscribe. You can watch this podcast You'll be able to watch the video along with us. Let's have fun with it. Let's jump right into it.
Yeah, let me add one more thing.
Yeah.
I just want to preface this video. A little while ago, I did a list of the top 10, my personal top 10 best videotapes that NBA Entertainment ever put out. I had Bad Boys number 3, and it was by far the highest ranked team focused episode. And granted, I'm biased, but if someone were to ask me to explain Pistons culture, this right here this entire video exemplifies Pistons culture. This is where Pistons culture essentially started. The Pistons had no real culture before this season, and this season really shows you how the Pistons went from just a run-of-the-mill mediocre NBA franchise to a flagship franchise that everyone recognized for decades.
I'm right along with you. I watched plenty of NBA video. This was definitely very high on the list. Michael Jordan Above and Beyond was probably second for me. I don't think enough people have seen that one. I think more people have seen the early 90s ones, but this one was very good. I got it for as a Christmas present. But all right, let's jump right into it. Let's do this. I'm going to go full screen. Keith, how does that look for you? You seen a full screen there?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna hit play. Ready? If you're not watching the video on any one of the streaming services and you're going to YouTube, I'm gonna do it right now. 3, 2, 1, play.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Pontiac.
Also, I believe this was the debut of the Pistons final
Detroit Pistons history. We're hosting the 1988
I absolutely love this. I love this intro so much.
Introducing your
Shout out to Ken Calvert.
the Detroit Pistons.
I know Mason is everyone's favorite today. Ken Calvert was the
From
OG.
Western Michigan University, Walker D. Russell.
God bless Walker D. Russell getting a shout out. He played in one game that season.
Lewis. At center,
Ralph Lewis, after the season, would be selected in the expansion draft by the Charlotte Hornets over Vinnie Johnson, who he left unprotected.
in his 11th
So
year,
thank you, Ralph Lewis, for that.
James Edwards.
I can't imagine Chuck Nevitt got a whole lot of
In his second year from Georgia
notoriety
Tech,
outside of this.
Spider Sally.
Was in a Dunham's commercial.
Forward in his second year from Southeast Oklahoma State, Dennis Rodman.
Everybody's fan favorite.
In his 9th year from Baylor, Vinnie Johnson. And
Did not have a great season, Vinnie Johnson,
yours
by his standards. There's a
in his
reason why the Hornets could have taken him in the expansion draft and passed.
At the other forward in his 8th year from Hampton Institute, Rick Mahorn. At center in his 8th year from Notre Dame, Bill Lanebeard.
Lane beer, not land beer, lane beer.
From McNeese State, Joe.
Yeah, he put some sauce on it. Yep. That's Skin Cal's favorite call.
7th year from Indiana, your captain, Isaiah
Thomas.
the head coach of the
Oh God, I love this. I'm just so in my element right now.
Rothstein and Dick Versace. The trainer is Mike Abdenauer.
And it's because of this video that I know who Mike Abdenauer was when I was a kid.
We the bad boys.
Hey, they said bad boys. Keith, you lied to me.
We like a hockey team. Everyone want to
Come
see
on.
us play.
Just win, baby, whatever it takes.
When you got a Detroit Pistons uniform on, you got to be proud to wear it. And you just got to have that certain little edge in your system that makes you real special.
Yeah, but that interview was done after the season.
There's Chuck. Oh, good times.
That is the most reckless dive into the stands I've ever seen in my life.
Without question.
A player would get fined for doing that, for putting people in jeopardy. Like, the ball wasn't even savable. What do you do? Christmas Day. John Sally dunked on, I think it was Charles Oakley. Patrick Ewing. I think it was Patrick Ewing. Oakley was on the
If we
on
are
the team.
bad boys, then we gotta act like bad boys. We can use this reputation in two ways. Either we can use it to our advantage, or it's going to hinder us severely. Lambeer said, okay. we'll be
I
like
want
the
one of
Oakland
those shirts
Raiders.
so bad. I cannot find them
The
anywhere.
old Oakland Raiders.
Before the Pistons,
Yeah, originally their identity was the Oakland Raiders
season, their
of like
reputation
Detroit, of the NBA is what they tried to go with first.
a stirring image of the gridiron's toughest men. Raider owner Al Davis delighted in the comparison and let the Pistons
Are you able to hear me,
join the
Keith?
honorary
Does
ranks
volume
of the
sound
good?
Silver Black,
Okay.
Whose motto
Yeah.
is
Great.
commitment to excellence.
Nobody likes us, so I guess you figure, hey, we might as well be everybody.
Yeah, screw the Lions, apparently.
I don't mind being.
Yeah.
I always wondered how the Lions felt about this, but you know what? The Lions
I
were
don't like that. Yeah,
They were not
well,
good at
we
this
see
time.
that.
they were so bad.
Yeah.
Like the Raiders, Detroit sought every
First season of Round Ball 1.
A private jet
There it is.
provided sufficient legroom for 7
Look at those
survivors
shoes
and
that
gave coaches
Chuck
extra
Nevitt's
time to
got.
study
Look at that
videotape,
TV.
all making life on the road easier.
It's probably a $2,000 TV.
And home was the Pistons sanctuary. Their faithful congregation.
Seeing the Silverdome like this, I never got to see a Pistons game at the Silverdome. It's still just it's crazy to me that they brought people in. I mean, look at this.
Well,
It's
they were more or less giving tickets away. Because they knew this was their last season at the Silverdome, and they had to split ticket revenue anyway. So they just wanted fans in the seats. They didn't necessarily care about the ticket revenue.
Along the way, the Pistons had the finest regular season in team history.
But yeah, they were the first franchise to draw a million fans. The Minnesota Timberwolves in their expansion year actually played at the Metrodome and outdrew them, believe it or not.
His running mate Joe Dumars maintained
They hold the record.
but came up big at both ends of the floor. Sixth man Vinnie Johnson came off the bench and gave nightmares to opposing defenses. Meanwhile, Rick Mahorn gave them bruises as he pounded inside for his most productive year as a Piston.
Yeah, this was by far the best he ever played in Detroit this season.
Yeah,
It's
he
probably
could-
the healthiest too.
It's
This
probably the
was first
best.
year he went without back issues.
It's probably the best shape. Yeah, the best shape he was ever in.
Career points with 13 seconds to go in the game. Other milestones were achieved, like Bill Lambier's growing record as the reigning NBA.
Look at that computer paper with the
Yeah.
perforated edges.
Bless that man for printing out that sign.
Yeah.
For hard-nosed basketball.
That must have took like an hour.
Lambier's streak would come to an end the following season as he was suspended for fighting Brad Doherty.
Was a feared competitor at the
I want to say 685 was the final for Bill.
Players steadily improved without the effect of a sophomore jinx. Coach Chuck Daly led Detroit to a 5th straight winning year, and in 87-88, the Pistons had a franchise record 54 wins. But the regular season's biggest moment was a win against New Jersey, which clinched a tie in the Central Division.
And keep in mind,
The Pistons
you think the Pistons have it bad now? They went the first 30 years in Detroit without winning their division.
It's
I'm trying to give everyone context behind this ridiculous celebration.
yes, this is
Because simply winning the division was seen as an impossible goal for the
Yeah.
Detroit Pistons. For reference, it has only been 15 years since the Pistons last won the division. So basically, take the drought that they're currently on and double it, and then you'll get what Piston fans went through.
it's
In the
hilarious.
60s, 70s, 80s.
It's hilarious that they found out the results of the other game over the phone. They all gathered
Yeah,
around Rick
on
Mahorn
radio.
on the
On
phone.
radio, yeah. Someone had radio leak pass, apparently.
What are the chances you could find a 1988 Central Division championship shirt?
I would pay. I'll be honest with you. I would pay for an original
I would.
because I
too.
think that was a signature moment in the history of the team.
In the playoffs, and we're still a very determined and hungry basketball team.
That's the important thing. The journey matters.
Detroit ran into a hungry bullet.
It's not just championship or nothing. The journey on the way to getting there matters as much as getting
best of 5 series. Suddenly a two-man
Now it's
show.
interesting. The Pistons actually very easily could have lost this series. The video of losses over the fact they were down a point with 9 seconds left in Game 2, and Isaiah Thomas hit a ridiculous shot over Jeff Malone to win the game. But they could have easily lost the series 3 games to 1.
Daly's brilliant choreography. The Pistons again looked like
Once it got to 5, it was over. The Bullets shot 30%. They shot 26 for 85. They just didn't have anything. I think Moses made like 2 baskets.
While a once tireless
Hey, there's
Moses
my
was
guy.
ready for a summer
Dude,
vacation.
Moses Malone right there.
By having their 2 big guns silenced,
Tried to talk
Washington's
Keith into
hopes
doing a
of an
Moses
upset
Malone
disappeared.
episode. Maybe we'll do it
But
at
they
some point.
took the Pistons to the limit, testing Detroit's mettle and sharpening them for their next opponent.
Well, this was at the point where Moses Malone wasn't nearly as good as he used to be, but he was still putting up numbers, so people were still kind of fooled
Right.
Fresh from a
into thinking he was still a superstar. So teams kept giving him chances.
landed in Motown.
The guy literally is embarrassing the league. He's that good. He's a phenomenal player. There isn't anything he can't do. And I watched very carefully the Cleveland.
It's
series.
interesting
I said
to
to
get a
myself,
glimpse of
"You
Jordan
can't let it
before
happen.
he
I don't
was,
care what
you know,
we do."
really Jordan.
Joe Dumars.
He was just a really good young player.
Assignment.
Joe is.
I mean, the year before this, he averaged 37 points a game. I think he was always Jordan.
But Joe.
I know, but he's not a champion yet. He's not, you know.
Right, but this season he won the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, scoring champion. Only guy ever to do that.
Michael Jordan all the time.
Like from an individual accomplishment standpoint,
With
88 was
Dumars
the peak
at
of his
the point
career.
of attack,
Have you
the
seen
Pistons
Air yet?
took away Jordan's
I have not. I want
Oh,
to.
God.
Manipulated Detroit's
I'll
transition
spoil
game,
one
while
little
Chicago's
part of that
high
movie
flying
where
fast break
he's
was
on the
grounded.
phone with Michael Jordan's mom. She's telling how he's going to win the. I'm going to
With
pause it for a
Jordan out
second.
of the flow, Detroit eased
She's saying how Michael's going to win the MVP and the scoring championship and the Defensive Player of the Year, and Matt Damon's like, well, Mrs. Jordan, that's just, you know, Sidney Moncrief is the Defensive Player of the Year, and Adrian Dantley is the scoring champion. You can't be both guys. It's just not possible. And well, Michael showed us that it's pretty dang possible.
Yeah, a lot of people think the NBA just gave him that, but if you look at his steals and block, he was the first guy to record, I think, 200 steals and 100 blocks ever, and then he did it again the second season. So it's not like he wasn't. It's not like he was getting that Defensive Player of the Year award based on reputation. I mean, he was really burning the candle at both ends, at least until he hit his late 20s and Pippen was able to give him a rest.
Right. All right, let's keep
so he
rolling.
won the opener.
Just about every play down is for him, and that makes it real difficult because you never get to let up. Where on other teams, you know, guys are gonna get the ball 10 times in a row. You can help out on defense. You can afford to roam a little bit more, but with him, it's high intensity every time.
Notice you don't see a lot of Scottie Pippen in this video.
No, you really don't.
Yeah, but poor Scottie was a rookie this season, and he had some decent moments in this series, but for the most part, Adrian Dantley just ate him alive. It just wasn't a fair matchup for a rookie.
Because it's our gym tonight.
In Chicago, the Pistons continued to press.
Yeah, the Bulls were held under 80 points in both of these games on their home court. And games 3 and 4, the Pistons just hammered them both times.
Unthinkable for Michael
After winning
Jordan.
Game 3,
Like, they didn't even have a chance to win either game.
rally in the next contest with 9 unanswered points, nailing down
You see stuff like this, and you know it's obvious why Michael can't stop talking about Isaiah after all these
Going
years.
back home, knowing the great player that Jordan is, we
And
wanna
vice
live
versa.
Life, you know, and let's just get it
Like,
over.
when the Bulls won game 2 in Detroit, people thought it might be a real series, and then the Pistons just went to Chicago and completely destroyed their confidence.
To lead the team in offensive rebound. And down the stretch, Bill Laimbeer canned 13 straight, giving the team unexpected time off before their next.
Points, not shots, but yeah, Bill Laimbeer was great in the second half of this game.
The Pistons rarely experienced good fortune playing in Boston. The
Here
Garden
we
was
go.
home to 16 world championships, and Detroit had lost on the parquet floor 21 straight times.
Yeah, their last win prior to this was 1983, so 5 years.
Championship banners were reminders of victims past and a gloomy specter to future challengers of Celtic glory.
Get ready to relive some
Detroit's
stuff.
most disturbing moments occurred a year ago, and those haunting memories seemed all too fresh.
My first real memory of it as a
Marcus
Pistons
occurred
fan
in
was
Game 5,
the Bird
seconds
steal.
short of grabbing a 3-2 series lead.
I was too young for this.
I was too young for it, but unfortunately I still remember it. But we went over this moment
Fighting back.
in detail in the Pistons Celtics rivalry episode.
Physical play took its toll.
If you haven't heard it yet, look it up. It's
Yep.
pretty good.
The finals came crashing.
There they are, laying on the ground.
Yep.
Sure, Boston.
2 concussions for 2 teammates on the same play in a game
In
7.
the playoffs this year with a lot of confidence,
Just
knowing that we thought
incredible run of bad luck there.
prove it.
In 1988, Lady Luck.
Now, to set the stage, these Celtics were by far the most efficient offensive team in the NBA this season. They were the #1 offense by a good margin. However, because they were a little bit older and that they had no bench, defensively they were very vulnerable. I'll put it that way.
For them to win.
Hey, looks like Aaron Rodgers
But
has a
because
concussion.
because we really didn't have a points per possession focus in the 1980s, and the Celtics played such a slow pace, it wasn't really interpreted that way.
Even though everybody's telling us that we're not.
They were seen as a tough defensive team, and they really weren't. They were just a team to execute in the half court. And that's really where you see the Pistons strike in game 1.
Required nearly 40 minutes from each man.
I hate to get too off of Pistons talk, but if you read the ticker down there, this thing was recorded a long time ago, this video.
Yeah.
They're talking about Vikings Brett Favre is starting tonight or something like that. It's wow. Okay.
Attrition.
Oh. Physical series.
Yeah, very physical.
And varied defensive assignments.
But in general, this series was more about the Pistons just having more offense than the Celtics.
Bird took shots out of frustration.
Like this is Larry Bird's worst series of his career. That wasn't affected by injury. By far. He shot 35%. He was awful. And he wrote in his book himself this is the worst series he ever had. That they just frustrated him.
Great defensive effort.
But the Pistons won this first game. They broke the streak by shooting 56% in the Boston Garden in the playoffs.
I was really disappointed. I was in the locker room.
Like that's something that you just don't do.
I knew we had a chance to win that game. I felt I could be part of it. Fortunately, we have an outstanding bench.
Like Isaiah and Adrian Dantley were just money this whole series, especially in Boston.
Lambier's hustle did not disappear when he was replaced by James Edwards. The 11-year veteran played like a rookie with something to prove.
Now I am realizing what you said before the show started, Keith. This isn't the full video.
You're right.
Because they talk about James Edwards getting traded to Detroit, and he talks about it, and there's a video of him in Phoenix. I remember that now.
Yep. Interesting thing. You know what James Edwards said he was doing when he got the phone call that he'd been traded?
What's that?
He said he was playing The Legend of Zelda.
Oh, really?
He was in the middle of playing the original Legend of Zelda. I don't know why he felt the need to be specific on that, but that's what he was quoted as.
Give us once the playoffs started, so that's why we
traded Jack
James Edwards deal.
That's all we talked about when we first acquired him was how much he could help against Boston, because we assumed we were going to meet Boston in the playoffs, and we knew we needed one more big post-up player to go at their big front line.
Oh, never mind. Here it is. They're showing it to us right now. I'm just confused. Maybe this is the full video. Maybe it's not.
No, this is definitely an incomplete version. But you're getting all the basketball stuff. There's some off-court interview stuff that has been cut out for TV. This isn't ESPN Classic rebroadcast.
Edwards quickly learned Detroit's hustling style.
I was scrambling for a ball with Dennis Johnson, who I played with.
Now, the interesting thing is that James Edwards was very much known as a finesse big that didn't want to rebound, didn't want to play defense.
Yeah. Now we just started to pass.
Outstanding low post scorer. Had one of the most unstoppable post fades in the history of the game. That's why the Pistons got him. But you know, when he joined this team, he got a lot better defensively. He didn't have a choice. That's the only way you were going to play for Chuck Daly.
Vulnerable, or would it be a perfect motivator?
they know this is probably the most important game of the season for them. They can't afford to go 2 down. We look for a terrific.
Oh, this game hurts.
Yeah, it's a rough one.
The Pistons honestly should have swept the Celtics in this series. They were that much better. And the Celtics just fluked their way into 2 wins. And this is one of them.
Showed the bravado to match Detroit in physical play. Once again, they looked like the invincible men of the parquet. Yet they were unable to shake those Pistons.
Because Boston really didn't play consistent defense to the Pistons,
As a result,
even when they were playing well.
Rose for the fast break, where Detroit overwhelmed Boston by a 22-7 margin. Slowly, Detroit gained a fourth-quarter lead. Execution was solidly on their side, but luck was not, as Danny Ainge squeaked.
Luck is never on the Pistons' side.
No.
If the Boston Garden was planning
Suddenly, Danny Ainge is uber athletic and doing things like that.
Well, Danny Ainge was a great athlete. I'm not going to take that away from him, but that was a full job. Now, right here, it's a tie game. Isaiah Thomas hits a 3-pointer with just a few seconds left. Yep. Puts the Pistons up 3. It looks like they're going to go up 2-0. Come back to Detroit, close it out in 4.
Detroit almost tasted a
and the Celtics just trip over themselves and get a win.
On the verge of an inconceivable second straight playoff loss at the Garden. There was only enough time for one shot, and even by Celtic standards, they were in need of a miracle. The plan was to free Larry Bird in 3-point range, but the inbounds pass.
And given how he played in that series, he probably would have missed.
Before, the ghosts of Celtics past were desperate.
But no, it goes to Kevin bleeping McHale.
Gosh damn Kevin McHale.
Who steps on the 3-point line. It's not called, which I don't have. He had a pinky on the 3-point line, and they didn't have replay, so I'm not going to blame the refs for that.
Officials at this time we're still trying to figure out what the 3-pointer was.
That was another fluky example.
It's just the fact that
we find every way we
Kevin McHale, of all people, had one 3-pointer, I think, for his entire career to that point.
We felt we'd won the game. We felt we'd played hard enough to win the game.
Throws in, yeah, and the Pistons go on to lose in overtime.
The 3-point line had only been around since what, 80? 83?
No, the 3-point line was installed for the 79-80 season.
Oh, okay. I thought it was much.
The year, yeah, it was Bird and Magic's rookie year.
Okay. I think we're going to see Uncle Jim here in a second.
Okay. I think I know who you're talking about.
Fans sensed Boston was beatable on the road, and a hung jury was ready to see them draw.
There he is, right there. On the right. He's the guy with the glasses and the beard. They're tearing up the Celtics jacket together. That's Uncle Jim. Yeah, I realized they both have glasses and beards. My uncle's the one with the blue shirt and with the white writing on.
Gotcha.
This is one of his proudest
moments. Did he love to point himself on that video?
Oh yeah.
From their beloved Garden, and now ducking for cover in the Hall of Piston Justice.
The attendance for these playoff games, especially in the last 2 rounds, was unbelievable.
At the top of his game, and for perhaps
like they were getting
a national audience was taking
1.5 to 2 times the attendance of a max capacity Little Caesars.
Now, are games live these days, or are they on tape delay still?
No, they're live.
Okay.
NBA was big business by this point.
That's what I thought.
I was out. The '84 finals, I think, was the first one that really was appointment TV.
And when Robert returned in the third, the Pistons could still do no wrong. But the tide can turn so quickly when the Celtics exploit all their scoring options. After 8 straight losses in the Dome,
the Celtics team kind of reminds me of the Warriors this year, where they have really good starters, but they have no bench. Their starters are getting up there in years, and they just can't be as great as consistently as they used to.
Maybe Robert Parrish will stomp on somebody at some point during this.
Like the Pistons were younger, they were more energetic. They just had the legs to go 7 games, and the Celtics really didn't.
9 points snuffed a Celtic run, while Dantley's driving hoop put Boston to bed.
The Celtic killer right there.
Even had time to wipe off the sweat from his brow.
Yeah.
And the game's all-time
The Celtics had nobody that could guard Adrian Dantley, and both teams knew it.
defensive end.
If they see somebody like me been in the league 20
Like, the best defense for the Pistons on Kevin McHale was to get him switched on Adrian Dantley, because Adrian would pick up fouls.
example.
The Pistons were up 2-1, and critics wondered what was wrong with Boston. The answer was Detroit's defense, which was surrendering less than 100 points per game.
Everybody still thinks we're an offensive.
This is back in the day when we never adjusted for pace.
Yeah, that's to our advantage.
No, the Pistons were the best defensive team in the league this season anyway.
We'll win the series.
But it was
But this season, or this series, was a lot of, they were scoring the ball at more easily than the Celtics were.
Straight shots.
Do not adjust your TVs, folks. This is
Except for this game.
This is a real Benny Hill moment here.
Yeah. This game was the one exception where just every jump shot they took, and that's the problem with the Pistons being a jump shooting team in a low post era, is that you can go cold, and this is what happens when you can't get the easy baskets.
We were doodle. I don't know. Well, you're a little kid, you know what doodle is? Doodle, cocky. That's what we were.
I've never heard it phrased that way ever in this video.
They were doo-doo. Cocky.
So 50 seconds left. It's still a tie game. And you know the really interesting thing is, if Sally just grabs that ball and shoves it in, it's a basket. Because you can't have offensive goaltending on a inbound pass. Remember the DeAndre Ayton play from a few years ago?
Yep.
But he misses the ball completely, and they have to call it a violation.
Even if he just pantomimed it just a little bit more.
That wasn't goaltending, by the way. It just looked bad.
Game 5 returned to Boston, where the Pistons.
Now, this to me, and I've said this many times on Twitter, this is the most significant game in the history of the Detroit Pistons. This game right here.
2 games apiece. A veteran team.
If they lose this game, then there's serious questions about the direction of the franchise.
They once again had to win
because they had every advantage and they still couldn't get it done.
Those fateful final seconds of last year's 5th game.
Like, they may have broken this team up if they lose this game, lose the series.
Boston the year before.
Nobody's hair is like Dick Versace's hair. I mean,
I think that's a wig.
That's a rug, right? Okay. We can all agree.
It doesn't if you keep reopening the wound.
Should have got a better
The
one.
Celtics, they bring out the best in you and the worst in you. They make you a better person and a better player.
Now, Daddy Rich. Now, that hair's rich.
We felt strongly that we were the better team and that we
Ron Rothstein, who succeeded Chuck Daly after Chuck left the Pistons.
give it up without a fight.
He did not necessarily succeed.
Yeah.
He succeeded him, but he did not succeed.
With old luster.
And the Celtics do play their best half of the series in this first half,
Halftime lead.
where they were just making everything.
With impromptu creativity.
And then the Pistons essentially have a choice. Do they want to accept
Played like gang.
the bad luck that was happening to them, or they want to fight back?
The first time in that series, I didn't think we were really challenging shots. We talked about it at halftime. Defensively, our work ethic wasn't there. And we talked about, hey, if you want to get back in this game, you can't do it on the offensive end. You've got to do it on the defensive end.
The Celtics' lead extended to as many as 16 points. Yet Detroit refused to quit. They pressed flesh against flesh and gradually turned up the heat.
And this was as good a half as I think that team was capable of playing in the
Fast
second
breaks
half.
were held in check. Passing routes were
Yeah,
closed
it's just
down.
a defensive
And
lockdown.
inside shots came
Yeah.
with a heavy price tag.
The Pistons outscored the Celtics 62-42 in the second half,
Outstanding was the shutout
including third, fourth quarter plus overtime.
by the end of the third quarter. Isaiah taps it away from
I mean, look at that. That's beautiful. That is just beautiful defense.
That was probably as intense.
The Pistons nearly wiped away the entire deficit in just the third quarter.
On any level, at any time, in any place. Our guys were absolutely incredible in that second half, and it was...
I think Bird may have hit one shot in the second half. I don't recall him hitting more than.
No matter what they tried, Boston simply couldn't break Detroit's rhythm. Steadily, the Pistons climbed back into contention and kept.
Like the Celtics actually did have 2 chances to win the game in the last minute, and Rodman just shut off Bird's water on both times. He missed one shot, and the second one he threw up an air ball. I wish I could have shown that video.
You gotta love this ball movement on the fast breaks. I mean, it's just beautiful. I feel like we don't see basketball played like that anymore, and that's I get it. It's a
Because
different game
everyone's
now,
running to
but
the damn 3-point line.
everybody's gonna stop and pop. I mean, that's
Everyone's running to the 3-point line. Bill Laimbeer could destroy a switch like very few 7-footers. It sounds silly to say, but he was so technically sound. If he got a mismatch on a guard that was 6 inches, 7, 8, 9 inches shorter than he was an automatic 2 points.
The 119-115 victory was a dream.
Yeah, notice Fred Roberts is guarding Adrian Dantley here. It's because Adrian Dantley had already fouled out Kevin McHale. And the Celtics had no one else but Fred Roberts to guard him.
No, poor Fred.
The door to the finals was open, and Detroit looked to keep Boston out.
We had pressure on us to beat Boston because last year we should have been in the finals. If we hadn't accomplished that this year by beating them, it would have been a disappointing season for us.
With so much on the line in Game 6, both teams looked to their best post-up players.
Yeah, the Pistons starters were kind of nervous.
For the Celtics. McHale's added
The Pistons did not have a great start to this game at all.
Is it me, or do 1980s basketball players look incredibly skinny compared to today? Like, nobody has any muscle mass on them. Everybody just seems
I think
so,
Rick Mahorn
so thin.
might disagree, but yeah.
You disagree?
I think Rick Mahorn might disagree.
Oh, Rick Mahorn. Yeah, I mean, he's a big guy before this, but like...
Well, like Robert Parrish, he does like karate, or is it judo? I can't remember which one, but he's a martial artist. So yeah, that's where his skinny build comes from.
The surging Pistons.
There you go,
Yeah, the
Ralph.
Pistons bench.
Who found his rhythm early.
Cheer him on, Ralph.
The numbers for this game, the Pistons bench accumulated 52 points and 24 rebounds. The Celtics bench, 19 points and 4 rebounds. That was the story behind this game.
So the playoffs start. The bigger the game, the more hyped I am. The more ready.
The Pistons were just younger, deeper,
Too quick, too strong, too focused.
and they may have actually wanted it a little bit more in the series.
Waves seemed to flip a switch and then burn Boston for 24 points.
Hell of a game for Vinny.
Yep.
For the 9th time during the playoffs, Detroit had a fourth-quarter lead and never gave it up. After a year of hard work,
It's really hard to put into context just how important it was for them to beat Boston in this series. That Boston was the boogeyman, not just for Detroit, but for the entire Eastern Conference. That just this guy couldn't be beaten.
To put it in other terms, it was like when the Lions finally beat the Packers at Lambeau again. You know?
Yeah. Okay, I get it, but
Similar.
like the
It's- I mean,
Packers, the Packers weren't the Packers though last year.
No, I'm talking about during the I think it was the 2017 season.
No.
The Lions went like 20 some odd years without winning in Green Bay.
I'm willing to bet this is the very last time that an NBA fan base has rushed the court. That the NBA has allowed this to happen. Well, no, because it happened with the Lakers too, technically, even though it wasn't like that.
Oh yeah, and we're going to talk
But
about
we'll get to that. But yeah, I think after this season, the NBA put in some harsh rules about fans entering the court after a game.
their catalyst was a
Oh man, I was hoping that we would get, some of those fun
from his days
John Sally with the camera moments, but I guess
No, they were cut out.
Yeah, man.
This is a edited for TV broadcast.
I'm sorry to everybody. This is the only version of this that we could find online.
This is the ultimate. I absolutely love this game. This might be my favorite game for the entire season, just for sheer entertainment value. Because there was a lot of things being written about how the Pistons celebrated too much for beating Boston, and were they ready for the finals? Were they just happy to be there? And they just put it on the table. Game one, they said, "Here you go. Here's your 12-0 their 8-0 deficit in 2 minutes. Here's you're down 16 points at halftime, Lakers. Welcome to the finals. Or 17. Yeah.
Unflustered, the Lakers pooled their veteran experience and stormed out of the box in the third.
Absolutely nobody expected the Pistons to just smack the Lakers on their own court in Game 1.
And they were near perfect at the free throw line.
Reminds me a lot of the 2004 finals when the Pistons weren't taken seriously. And in Game 1, they just made the Lakers miserable. This is a lot like that game.
Lakers in 4 because the Pistons can't score. I've never felt more vindicated by
in the series.
By that moment, upstaging that reporter.
Was that the Pistons defense couldn't. The Lakers were just going to outscore the Pistons because people still didn't think that a defense-first team could win a championship.
Joining him was John Sally, who smothered Byron Scott's best effort. In all, Pistons snuffed LA 6 times, including moments when the Lakers believed
Look at these blocks. I mean, guys are flying. They're flying out there. Rodman was he was so special, man.
On the flip side,
Green is not liking what he's seeing.
Shut down AD, who pumped in an
Adrian Danley shot 14 for 16.
AC Green kept that Jerry curl until he retired.
Poor AC Green. Pat Riley apparently thought that AC Green could handle guarding Adrian Danley, one of the greatest ISO scorers of all time. He could not. Adrian Danley took 16 shots against AC Green, made 14 of them. He was double-teamed heavily for the rest of the series.
Piston confidence and Laker concern met at midcourt, reflecting the gravity of a sweep in the Forum. But LA was not about to leave town.
I think all NBA players that wear contacts should now wear these goggles instead. It's a great look.
With grace and sleight of hand,
the Lakers just outplayed the Pistons in Game 2.
Yeah. Titles during the 80s.
The Pistons hung in there. Now, this video is going to... George Blaha is going to commit a factual error in a minute.
2 years ago, Daly's men gave up 100.
The Lakers are going to get a completely BS gift at the end of this game, but it's not the way Blaha tells it.
This defensive excellence also did wonders for the Pistons' transition game.
Gosh, look at the ball movement. I love it.
The Pistons were fighting back in the fourth quarter. They got it down to 5 points with,
Edge in the fast break.
I think, a minute and a half left.
Filled the lane in tallying his most productive game of the finals. Detroit came back from a 12-point deficit, but Magic's fourth quarter running hook reclaimed a slight Laker cushion.
Yeah, Lakers are up by 5.
However, missed the mark and positioned Rodman for a breakaway.
Okay, now I want to be very clear on this play. It was an air ball.
Raised the rim and entitled LA to a fresh shot clock. And the
not true. They did not reset the shot clock for LA.
A pair of Magic
it was set at 5 seconds, and Magic was fouled immediately on the inbounds. So George is kind of covering up for the fact that the Pistons fell asleep on the ensuing inbounds play. Now, the entire thing was BS because Worthy threw the ball away to Rodman. They should have made it Pistons possession, but they didn't. The Lakers shouldn't have gotten the ball back, but it wasn't like what George says.
Game 3 was truly a homecoming, as 40,000 backed Detroit, while East Lansing had divided feelings about...
And the Lakers won Game 2 by 12 points, so it's not like it was close.
The big issue was how the Lakers would fare on the road after 2 struggles in Utah and Dallas. Initially, matters were not improving in the Silverdome.
Yeah, this was the first NBA Finals game played in the Detroit area. It just couldn't have gone worse. They kept it close, and then in the third quarter, the Lakers just blew it open.
Detroit then lost its leaders with a Chuck Daly ejection.
Chuck got ejected.
Yep.
The agonizing, crushing blow and a Piston defeat.
Yeah, Lakers got the one road win they needed. And Pistons, Isaiah was actually clearly hurting in game 4, but he played Isaiah put on like a Russell Westbrook special in this game. Like he was not scoring, he couldn't shoot, but he was still arguably the best player in the league.
He took a beating during this season. I mean,
he did.
Plenty of injuries.
Isaiah took a beating every year. He was so small, but he played the contact. He was a lot like Allen Iverson, except that Isaiah played defense.
The defense was in top form, stripping the Lakers for 16 turnovers. In previous series, they choked off Jordan and Bird, and now had to smother another dominant player. Magic Johnson.
This was
must have felt as if
LA had just played their best game of the finals. This is the Pistons' best game of the finals, was their response in game 4. They needed to have it.
Dried up in the Silver Dome's 90-degree heat. Yet the Pistons
90 degrees.
It's insane.
With just 14 LA points,
It was not designed to be holding sporting events indoors in June.
To an earlier incident when rough play sent Isaiah to the ground. Off the court,
Isaiah for this game shot just 2 for 7, had 12 points and 9 rebounds. Or excuse me, 12 assists and 9 rebounds.
In hindsight, this worked to the Pistons' advantage, as LA's only effective player eventually picked up his 4th personal foul. Lost in the fray was Isaiah's ability for sucking up the pain.
And we're about to see one of his 2 baskets right here. It's just an FU 3.
5 seconds to play on the shot clock. As Isaiah gets to his 2 on the clock.
Dagger.
Detroit's 111-86 shellacking pulled them
20. They beat LA by 25 points.
The possible no-show led Detroit in both assists and rebounds.
Yeah, led the team with assists and rebounds.
The Dantley family was there to support AD in the final home game of the season. Noticeably absent was Lynn Thomas, who gave birth the night before Game 5. Isaiah stayed up a full 24 hours to witness the delivery of his son.
Plus that.
And the new
all the injuries and then that.
Of the world. Isaiah's understandable fatigue appeared to rub off on his teammates. The defense was a step too slow as the Lakers opened up.
Yeah, but they turned it up the last 3 quarters.
Yeah,
God, did they turn it up. I think the Lakers were up, 16-2 to start this game? 14-2?
15-2.
15-2. Yeah, it was almost tied at the end of the first quarter.
With the offense in idle, the Pistons called.
This was another. Team A has younger legs than Team B, and they just used the extra energy to their advantage.
Form, but he was still at his irrepressible best. His success had a domino effect on Dantley.
I guess Vinny just chasing down his own rebound.
Troubled Worthy on the bench, no Laker could match up. After 12 seasons in the NBA and 2 games away from the title.
Yeah, both teams shot roughly the same percentage in this game. But let me tell you the top 4 rebounding leaders in this game.
He was no joke.
Adrian Dantley, Bill Laimbeer, John Sally, Dennis Rodman. The top 4 rebounders in this game were all on the Pistons. 53-31 on the glass in this game. The Pistons just pounded the crap out of the Lakers.
They were a tough team in a tough town.
That's why they won this game.
A blue-collar work ethic that made Detroit great. And that dedication was the foundation of a 10-point Piston victory. Now a game away from wearing a championship ring.
I always thought it was poetic. The final game ever played in the Silver Dome was a finals victory.
10 memorable seasons in the
Yeah, you gotta love it.
Yeah. They were not really memorable seasons. At least, 6 of them, or 8 of them.
McEnroe and Billy Crystal, all those guys up there, they're watching us.
You could argue the Pistons had more memorable games at Joe Louis Arena than they did in the Silver Dome.
But celebrity standing had no bearing on
before 1987.
The Pistons knew series momentum was clearly in their favor, and that this was the one contest they had to win.
John Sally should have been a full-blown movie star after basketball. I don't know. It just did never happen.
It wasn't for lack of trying.
Yeah, he definitely. I mean, he was in Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2, and He did some other stuff, but
Pat
I
Riley
don't know.
was trying to grind
Entertaining
the
guy.
Pistons into the court and went deep into his playbook to thrust LA to a halftime lead.
Yeah, this was a game where the Lakers were playing with desperation, and it was their will against Isaiah Thomas's will, and Isaiah Thomas's will was winning.
A repeat championship looked ill-fated until Detroit's comeback train was abruptly derailed.
Well, you know,
It's oddly specific. This is maybe the most memorable third quarter in NBA Finals history.
Yeah, it's maybe one of the most memorable performances of all time. I mean, just in basketball
really
history. Gutsy. Definitely one of the gutsiest performances I've ever seen.
Leadership was critical for the Pistons.
Now, granted, immediately after you suffer an ankle sprain, your ankle hasn't swelled yet, so you still have your mobility, but there is a lot of pain.
Yeah, you can feel it.
The rest of this game for Isaiah was mainly about being able to tolerate the pain threshold.
And we're talking about 1988 basketball shoes, not the most comfortable shoes already.
He soared to the basket and doggedly busted his tail from end line to end line.
But this is just one of many examples of a guy that was so obsessed with winning, with the thing that basketball fans all want, all idealize players as is being a guy that will do anything just to win, because that's the purest, the best thing about the sport. And Isaiah, not a perfect player, not a perfect person. He absolutely, let's see, he came closer to that ideal than I think any other player ever. Like, you could consider Willis Reed, on literally limping around on one leg, but he scored 4 points and didn't play very much. Isaiah with a badly sprained left ankle, man, he's setting an NBA Finals record that to this day still hasn't been touched.
So, I have a little confession here.
Okay.
I got this tape when I was pretty young.
Okay.
So so George Blaha says here just a second ago, he says Isaiah busted his tail from end line to end line.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, mind you, I'm when you're a kid, you hear things and you think, oh, okay, well that's, I thought George Blaha was saying that was Isaiah's injury, that he busted his tail from end line to end line. I'm like, oh man,
that's just another word for baseline.
I know. But as a kid, I'm like, God, a busted tail from end line to end line, that's got to be horrible. How many games did he miss after that? So that's my story.
Perhaps agony heightened Isaiah's sense of awareness. He was practically flawless in the third quarter, in which his 25 points was...
Like, these shots, like Michael Cooper has 6 inches.
Yeah, there's no way he should be making that.
Probably more than that when you include the wingspan. And he's backing him in and shooting a post fade from the corner.
It's just a shame they didn't win this game. Yeah.
Yeah, this could have gone down as the most iconic performance in NBA history. Like this, if you look back, and I said this on Twitter before, but this game essentially decided who the greatest point guard in NBA history was.
Yeah.
Because if Isaiah wins this game, then he has a three-peat to his resume. Magic doesn't even have 2. And he's doing it in Detroit, while Magic did it in LA with Hall of Famers. I'm not that Rodman is a Hall of Famer or Dumars, but they're not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Plus Isaiah doesn't hurt.
And plus Isaiah would have done it hurt, and then he would have beat Magic twice in the finals. No, maybe Magic, all things considered, is still the greatest point guard of all time considered if he loses this series, but
hey, the Red Wings lost 4-1.
There are a lot of arguments that would have been made to this day.
When Dantley and Thomas collided off the inbounds, the play was out of sync.
Yeah, I don't know who screwed this up. I still can't figure it out.
Joe managed to shake free, but all 5
Other than both AD and Isaiah thought the play was for them, apparently.
pursuing loose ball. With a championship almost in hand, Detroit had to question its fate, while LA counted its lucky stars.
And this was so bad for the Pistons because even though they had another game,
would have been sidelined for 3 weeks.
yeah, having 2 nights for that ankle to swell up, you're not going to be able to play.
My teammates and I know
like Isaiah played, but
carry on.
you're not going to have any mobility, and it's still going to hurt.
Right.
But this was the most important game.
Like Isaiah tried, but he just did not play well in Game 7.
Isaiah's unexpected presence was again an inspiration to teammates. Thomas fought back the pain.
Well, it was, and then the second and third quarter, the Lakers took advantage of the fact that Isaiah wasn't moving.
But few can escape the Lakers' third quarter.
Like the Pistons actually had a halftime lead, and then the Lakers just blew it open in the third quarter.
Behind Worthy's MVP caliber.
Is there any reason why we're doing RoboCop music here? I have to ask that. I've been wondering that for 30 years.
Go out to Detroit legend RoboCop.
Why are we playing RoboCop music for the Lakers?
Fake it, stay home. Get your hand up, smack the next one back in the face, okay? Come on.
I love Ron Rothstein was a great assistant. Maybe not the best head coach, but
They refuse to quit.
and this is where Isaiah Thomas leaves the game early in the fourth quarter, and then the Pistons bench immediately goes on a massive run. I'm not saying that that's the reason why, but they were better equipped to run and play defense
right
at that point.
Laker defense. The lead soon dwindled to just 2.
And they very well could have won this game if Dennis Rodman just doesn't have one of the ultimate brain farts that nobody remembers.
Detroit staged an unbelievable 13-point comeback and looked to tie the game with a minute remaining. But like Game 6, the Pistons' critical play was.
And why is Dennis Rodman taking a pull-up 18-footer
Right.
transition?
Championships.
It's just not Dennis.
It's
Yeah,
not. Yeah, and to Dennis's credit, he understood immediately after this game.
Reached the threshold of
All right.
He apologized. He knew that
Here's
was a
where I
shot.
get mad. There's 2 fucking seconds left on
2
the
seconds.
clock.
Pause it for a
entire-
second.
It's 2
Pause it for a
seconds
second.
left, and the entire
is a-
Lakers bench is on the floor.
Dude, it is all right. It is only a 3-point game here.
Right.
It is only a 3-point game. The Pistons are only down by 3 points with 2 seconds left. Now they don't have a timeout. They can't advance. But they're only down 1 possession, and they have possession. So why are we storming the court and celebrating when the Pistons are 1 long shot away from tying the game and sending it overtime?
It's
Why are
unbelievable.
they? And to this day, I wonder if Isaiah doesn't think that he should have just run over one of the Laker players that were on the court. He should have just run one over, and it would have been a technical foul at minimum.
Look at there's reporters on the floor. There's a camera guy right here. Everyone is on the floor. There's 2 seconds left.
Look, there's the Laker bench. The Laker bench
I
is
know.
on the floor.
The entire Laker
So,
bench.
yeah.
There's some people over here.
I have to ask Isaiah if that thought ever crossed his mind. Like, why not just take the ball and just plow over a player that should not be on the floor? And then that's an immediate technical foul. And then all of a sudden now you're down 2 points with 2 seconds left.
Right.
Or 1 or whatever. There's so many things wrong with this picture. And Isaiah kind of, I think, bails them out by he just tries to score like there's nobody on the court, or it's a regular point of the game. I don't know. I think Magic kind of ripping the ball away from him might have been a foul, but whatever. Let's continue.
He like trips. He trips him. I mean,
yeah.
Like he.
Okay. You know what? I never saw a great angle that showed that he was tripped or he just grabbed the ball and fell.
It's just ridiculous.
You know, there's a certain mindset being created now by the Detroit Pistons. That people look at Detroit and say, "This is how."
I mean,
team
the Lakers may have very well still won, but like
You're gonna have to.
Pistons should have had a chance to at least advance the ball downfield,
which is very difficult
and get a shot.
Even in defeat, though.
It's the stuff that dreams are made of, Keith.
Yeah, this was such a great video, though. Even in defeat, you come away with so much respect for what the Pistons accomplished that season.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna do it. I'm sorry that's not the entire video. That's the only access we really had to it. Keith has it in his vault somewhere, but then it's like, how do we pull that out of there? But yes,
it covers the main points of the season.
Yes, it covers
the things that were cut out would be something that I would consider bonus features. There's a little music video. There are off the court interviews with Isaiah Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, Adrian Dantley.
Well, there's
John Sally does some fun stuff during the finals, but this video includes all of the on-court stuff.
There's
which
the
hey
AD
1988 season.
There's the hey AD, what is it that you mumble to yourself at the free throw line?
Yeah.
Still makes me laugh all these years later. Still never got the answer to that question. But that's that. That is today's episode of Bad Boys and Beyond. I hope everybody enjoys it. I'm sure we will try to do a rewatch at some point again. Maybe we could pull a game out of the vault and hope YouTube doesn't decide to kick us off. I don't know. We'll figure something out. We'll pull out the 2004 Pistons year-end review and watch that. That's a great video as well. Pretty sure that is on the internet somewhere. I think it's on Hulu, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll try some of this stuff again later. Please be patient with us. This is our first time doing a video podcast, so I hope it turns out well for everybody and hope everybody enjoys it. As for next week, we are back doing the draft again. We've got a special guest with us, Lazarus Jackson, Laz, as he's known to his friends, from Detroit Bad Boys, is going to be joining us for the 2005 NBA draft. Very much looking forward to that one. We will see you guys then. Oh, wait, Keith's got something.
No, I'm waving goodbye.
Keith's waving. I'm going to wave too. Bye, everybody.